All right. Well, I guess that's it for today. Can you believe it?
I sure can.
Flew by.
Did fly by. So, Mike, what do you got going on? Is there any more wedding things going on?
Or I'll be in Goonson one. Don't know when that one is yet, and then I think I have one next year. But other than that, I keep getting on the non-invite list. I don't know why, but
Really?
yeah,
You're not getting invited?
yeah.
To where?
Other weddings, like I see all the pictures on Facebook of like all my high school classmates getting married. I'm like, and while I was teammates with them during high school, I'm like, okay,
It's all right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's all right.
Yeah, and this past weekend, it's the first one I remember that's non-family that I had fun at. Because as a kid, I don't remember anyone. So this was my only second wedding ever going to.
Did you dance?
Absolutely.
You did?
Yes. It was a dance fest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dance off.
All right. Mikey, thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome.
We will see you soon. Matt, thank you.
See you tomorrow.
And Katie, thanks for holding down the desk today.
Thank you.
And we will see you on Wednesday, Katie.
That's right.
All right. Keep it right here. You got Matt Connerton Unleashed coming up at 4 p.m., followed by Granite State of Mind. That's all this afternoon right here, WMNH. Have a great day, everybody.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria.
For delivery, call 603-782-8450.
Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town.
1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Best cocktails around.
Come in as friends and leave as family.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
You are listening to WMNH LP
Manchester's Radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. Contact us by email at wmnh953@gmail.com or through our website at wmnhradio.org.
what's the song that is played where everybody is on the chair, everybody at going to my mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. Last night I was on television. I was on a telephone, rapidly rising, and with I don't know. COVID has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's why it's reflected in the NHEI. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was inflicting we're going to seize the ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. NATO's purpose is to defend against aggression. Let me make near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, my mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. I don't think as the idea that the political coverage of I want to thank and recognize Dr. John Kingersong. Dutch song. I can't get this to function at all. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. No idea. No idea.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Here we go. It is that time again. Matt Connerton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Although it is a bit rainy and dreary outside and has been all day. However, we are supposed to have some very nice weather during the week. I looked at the 10-day. And it's going to get warm. I think there's one day it's supposed to be almost 70 degrees. I love it. But so today, it's just hanging there for today. I know it's been dreary. It really affects my energy level. Try to get up for the show, and I do get up for the show, but as evidenced by the fact that I'm here. But but I look outside, it's all bleh. But it will pass. This will pass, my friends. So welcome, of course, on WMNH 95.3, and if you're in Manchester, Comcast 97. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Monday, October 24, 2022. By the way, I do want to remind you, of course, about our amazing sponsor, The Hop Knot, but don't go there today because Monday and Tuesday is their weekend. But they do have those delicious gourmet pretzels and the assortment of craft beer. And I believe Taylor O'Donnell is performing there this coming Friday night, as they have live music every Friday night. And speaking of live music on a Friday night, and by the way, I do see our friend Chris H. from the band Edgewise in the chat room. Thank you again to Edgewise for inviting me Friday night to go and participate in the show at Angel City Music Hall. Of course, celebrating the CD release, the album release of their brand new Serpents and Snake Oil. In fact, if those of you who watch online, you may have seen me wearing the shirt on the show. And of course, I have my Edgewise hat, which I love. But yeah, I got to go there and, they were giving away an Epiphone Flying V guitar with a raffle that they were doing. And I got to go up on stage and draw the number. And then, although I couldn't, it's funny, in the light, I couldn't read the numbers on the tickets. Chris actually had to read them for me. But no, that was a lot of fun, though. I had forgotten what it's like to be on an actual stage in front of people. It's a little different from doing a radio show. I mean, it's the same in the sense that I'm extremely comfortable in that environment because, and anyone who knows me personally knows this about me. I'm very much an introvert in terms of, just how I interact with people on an interpersonal level. But as is common with introverts, while we're kind of shy and quiet, when we're in some sort of a performance situation, so someone like me, whether it's in front of a radio microphone or on a stage in front of people or any sort of public speaking or anything like that, that is actually where I'm the most comfortable. I'm someone I'm actually more comfortable on a stage in front of a room full of people than I am, just trying to make small talk with somebody. You know what I mean? And by the way, introverts hate small talk. So, but it had been a while since I'd done something like that. So that was really cool. So thank you to the guys for that. Oh, Chris says, was a great night. Thank you for helping make it that much better. No, thank you, Chris. I had a great time. And Edgewise, man, they sound incredible live. They really do. And in studio too. If you missed it last week, and of course, all the shows are archived at WMNHradio.org. On Thursday last week, they came in and did a couple of songs acoustic in studio for us, and it was really, really cool. So that was great. So Friday night last Friday at Angel City Music Hall, it was Edgewise and Day to Attend and Ozium. I've got to get Day to Attend on. I've interviewed Jeff Richards from Day to Attend, but I think it was a phoner. I don't think I've ever actually interviewed him in person, so I got to get him in here, see if the band wants to come in, and Ozium as well. But yes, there are many bands and so much great music around here. Remarkable, the music scene here, and I'm sure it's this way everywhere, right? Everywhere you go, there's lots of creative people making great music. But if you're curious about the local music scene here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and surrounding areas, and if you're curious about it, but you've never really, or maybe you at one time were actively going to shows and then the pandemic hit and now you don't do it anymore, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of great music, a lot of great musicians making great music out there. So, and for me, the next event that I'm involved in will be November 5th, Swarmy Fest, which is a big show being put on by Sepsis. And if you don't know, it's called Swarmy Fest because they call their fan base the Swarm or Swarmies. So Swarmy Fest. And one of the bands playing there that night, in addition to Sepsis, is Dust Prophet. And Otto Kinzel from Dust Prophet is going to be coming into studio with us for an interview sometime before then. We haven't nailed down exactly what day it's going to be, but I used to be in a band with Otto called Chemical Distance. So Otto and I are old friends, and we've done a lot of business together over the years, and he's a great man, and his name is Otto, which is so cool because he's the only person I've ever met in my life named Otto, and that's just such a cool name. Otto Kinzel, that's his real name. That is not a stage name. That's his real name, so I always thought it'd be cool to have a cool name. I mean, my name is, the one advantage of my name is it's so rare. Although there is another Matt Connerton here in New Hampshire, but he's my uncle, so that doesn't count. Anyway, so that'll be the next big thing for me. And I think Jenny's planning to go to that with me as well. So Swarmy Fest at Club Jewel here in Manchester on November 5th. So we hope to see you there. If you would like to join us here on this program, 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connerton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. One other thing I want to mention coming up this week that's really cool is this coming Friday, Well, we have 2 anniversaries that we're celebrating this week on the at WMNH. This Friday, first, we will be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Eric Pilcher's classic film reviews. I don't think Eric is able to listen to the show on Monday, but maybe he'll hear this later. But Eric is, I think Mondays is decompression day where he gets away from politics and everything else. But Eric has been doing, I can't believe it's been a year. Eric has been doing classic film reviews for us every Friday it'll be a year. It'll be a year this week. So that will be the 1-year anniversary of that. And then later in the evening, we will be celebrating the 2-year anniversary of Retro Spectrum Radio live Friday nights here at WMNH 95.3. I always have to add that little clarifier that because Retro Spectrum Radio actually was around for before it was here, much like this show. It did exist in previous iterations, but this Friday will be the 2-year anniversary of Retro Spectrum Radio here on WMNH. And I, of course, have the honor and privilege of being one of Paul's co-hosts on that show, along with our friends Dan Randall of Dan Randall and the Randlettes and DJ Steve. So we look forward to that. So very, very good. Chris in the chat room says, you are a great supporter of the local music community. Greatly appreciated. Thank you again. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I've played in a lot of bands myself, and sometimes I miss it. Although there's a lot, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into it, it's funny when I'm at a show like that, though, I look at everybody on stage and I think, I miss being up there. Of course, when I had back in the day, I had, long hair and I'd whip my hair around. And I don't know if I ever even really played that well. I just liked getting on stage and whipping my hair around, It was fun. It's fun. Good times. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. I do want to say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat, and then we will get into some news. Of course, we have many things to discuss. Melanie La Liberty joins us in the Facebook live chat. Please remember to continue to support Melanie in the next Face of Horror. If you haven't voted today, please do so. Melanie, as always, feel free to drop a link in the Facebook live chat, and we'll keep everybody doing that. Also, Jason Fedderson in the Facebook live chat. Hello, sir. Jenny is in the chat and says, shalom, peeps. Alex Whiteley, our friend from the UK, joins us. Hello, Alex. Let's see. Alex says, how's the British circus looking from the outside? It's bloody horrible living here right now. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit today. Although you do now, of course, in the UK, they do have a new prime minister. It happened today. But we'll probably talk about that today. And it's historic. The first person of color to be the British prime minister. So that's a great thing. I don't know much about this gentleman other than that, but we'll talk about it, I'm sure. Melanie says, are you flirting with my husband with this song, Matt? That song I played. Yeah, not the one you might have thought, though. Now, I know Jason really likes the other Joe Biden song, that Think About What You'd Think About. Because, our president, Joe Biden, not only is our president, but let's be honest, he's a dope MC. He's an old school gangsta. I don't know what I'm saying, but I mean, the guy, he's got some rhymes. He's got some bars. I think the young people say that now, if I'm not mistaken. And, I try to sound really young and hip on the show. Yes, that was a different, that song actually was sent to me by our friend Crystal, who I see in the chat. Hello, Crystal, from the great state of Illinois. And, she sent me that song and I said, oh my goodness. Well, I will absolutely play that, on the program. I enjoy that very much. Yes. My Mind's Going Blank Now, by Joe Biden. It is on the YouTube. Although I do like the other song better, that Think About What You Think About. Let's see. Melanie says, it's okay with me. I just want to make sure. And Jason says, I love this song, but my mind is going blank on the name. Yes. Let's see. Oh, Crystal's having some trouble with Facebook. Oh, my goodness. Our friend Nick Murdoch is in the Facebook live chat. We haven't seen Nick in there in a while. Now, what's great about Nick is he's kind of almost become sort of an unofficial producer on the program, because, you know, I mean, I can't afford to hire anybody to do this for me, but sometimes he gives me copy that I can read on the show. And I wish I had seen this right when I started the show. It would have been helpful, but that's okay. We'll do it now. So, Nick says he was banned for 30 days. I understand. But sometimes Nick helps me with what to say on the program if I get stuck or whatever. So this is how, had I seen this in time, this is how I would have opened the show today. This is courtesy of Nick Murdoch. Welcome to Matt Connerton Unleashed, only on 95.3 WMNH. It is October 24, 2022. That's a Monday, but there is no Jenny here, which means today's show will be subpar at best. We are brought to you today by Queen City Cabinetry, found in the historic Sunbeam Mall, named for that famous general we all know and love, General Sunbeam. Get down there soon. The Queen City Cabinetry showroom closes in at 5:30 today. Don't miss it, or you'll have to head back in tomorrow or Wednesday. We are also brought to you by the Hop Knot. You know the Hop Knot. You love the Hop Knot. Best pretzels in town, in the country, in the state, and heck, in the entire U.S. of A. Come on down to 1000 Elm Street in the Brady Sullivan Plaza for delicious food and a superb selection of craft beers. Just don't come on down today or tomorrow as they're closed. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, though, I expect to see you there. Join today's program by emailing matt@mattconnerton.com, tweeting at Matt Connerton, join our Facebook live chat, or so that you can enjoy, I apologize, Nick, so that we can enjoy your dulcet tones, call in at 603-250-6007. Be sure to vote for Melanie in the New Face of Horror contest at... Oh, and then it ended. It must have run out of room. Oh, and then Melanie was supposed to post her link, I assume. Well, very good, Nick. Thank you. That was well written. Very, very good. You covered everything. I mean, it's remarkable. Jason Fedderson says, Matt, what do you think of a Happy Light? I'm thinking about getting some. A Happy Light? You mean like, if you're referring to what I think you're referring to, Jason, and I honestly don't know if you are, but if you are, I have one, a light that it's to help with depression in the dark months of fall into winter. Jenny got one for me on Amazon that I haven't used it yet this year, but I'm sure that I will. I've never heard it called a Happy Light, but when you say Happy Light, I don't know what else you could be referring to. Although you probably are referring to something, and then when you tell me what it is, I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I thought it was the thing that I thought it was. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Matt. You guys, that guy gave a nice opening, but he forgot Clemento's.
He did, yes. Clemento's Pizzeria. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
I can't remember the words.
Last night I was watching 60 Minutes, as always.
Yes.
And they had a thing on Dominion. After watching it, I don't know what to believe, whether the machine is helpful and was, accurate, or if there was a chance of, missed votes. So later, I'm going to hang up, but just if you got 2 seconds later, tell me what your thoughts are on it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I haven't seen the 60 Minutes piece. I do know that Dominion, I believe it's Dominion, they've got an enormous lawsuit against Fox News and I think some others for, I think maybe Giuliani. Are they suing Rudy Giuliani for trashing them, for defamation or whatever the legal term would be for that, or a definition of character, as some guy I know from New York likes to say. But perhaps we'll look at that. I am curious. I did not see the piece, Ron, on 60 Minutes. Oh, Mike Pelopita from Queen City Cabinetry is in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Mike. Let's see. Alex Whiteley says, we do not share your optimism, haha. I think referring to their new prime minister in the UK. Chris Rose from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts joins us. Hello, Chris. There's a lot of talk about food in the Facebook live chat. A lot of talk of food. Charles Richardson joins us, of course, from the great state of Florida and host of The Charles Richardson Show. He says, good afternoon, people. Happy Maniac Monday. Crystal is continuing to have problems with Facebook, apparently. Jenny says, okay, now this is referring to the new PM in the UK. He was born in Africa to Indian parents, and I think his mom is part Asian. He's the trifecta of equality at 10 Downing Street. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Oh, Melanie did put the link in the chat room. Thank you, Melanie. Absolutely. So we can vote for Melanie in the next Face of Horror. And by the way, you do get one free vote per day, so it doesn't cost anything if you're a cheap SOB like me. Or you can also purchase votes. But it doesn't cost anything to vote every day. So vote early and vote often, and you don't have to wait for Mayor Daley to tell you that. Let's see here. Who else have we got? I always love saying his name. Alfredo Enrique Benavides is in the chat room. Speaking of local musicians who we love very much, Fredo's been on the show. We got to have you back on again, Fredo. Please, if there's a day that you'd like to come in, message me or I'll message you. The last time that you were on, I got a lot of very positive feedback on our conversation. And he says, shout out to Easy. Shout out to Easy McGeezy. Yes. Perhaps he'll call today, referring to Easy G, I assume. Let's see. Okay, Alex Whiteley. Now, he is our UK correspondent. He says in the chat room, Rishi Sunak. Is it Sunak? Am I saying his name correctly? Please tell me if I'm saying his name correctly. Rishi Sunak, the new UK PM, is an aristocrat, and he has no love for the working class. He is all about tax breaks for the rich and hurting the most vulnerable communities. He wasn't voted in. He was chosen after many failings by the current Conservative government. Things are going to get very tough over here. Oh, well, who knows? Maybe he'll only last 44 days and then he'll be out like Liz Truss. By the way, Nick Murdoch said, to be fair, Matty gets what he pays for. Yes, that is true. Let's see. All right. Let's get into some stuff. Let me give the number again and then we'll get into some stuff. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. I do hate to start on a down note because it's such a heartbreaking story, and it's something local to Manchester, but of course it has gotten much national attention as well. The Harmony Montgomery story, the child who went missing, and then at this point she is presumed dead, unfortunately. But there is a little bit of an update in terms of what is happening now with that. The father, this is from CNN.com, father of 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery charged with second-degree murder in connection with her death. It says here, the father of missing Harmony Montgomery has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella said today, this is as of today, this is breaking news as of today, Adam Montgomery, age 32, was also charged with falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with witnesses or informants, Formella announced at a news conference today. Harmony was reported missing in November 2021 by her mother, Crystal Sorey, who said she last saw the girl during a FaceTime call in the spring of 2019. Police said Harmony was last seen in October 2019, and investigators concluded in August that the 5-year-old had been murdered. Formella said that Montgomery recklessly caused the death of his daughter, quote, under circumstances manifesting in extreme indifference to the value of life by repeatedly striking Harmony in the head with a closed fist in Manchester on or about December 7, 2019. It's hard to even, it's hard to even think about somebody doing that to a child. What a monster. Sorry. I'm just having a hard time processing that. It says here, Adam destroyed, concealed, or hid Harmony's body between December 7, 2019 and March 4, 2020, preventing authorities from conducting a proper investigation, Formella said. Formella also said Adam purposely attempted to, quote, induce or otherwise cause, unquote, Harmony's stepmother, Kayla Montgomery, to falsely testify in the investigation into Harmony's disappearance between December 7, 2019 and January 4, 2022. Montgomery is scheduled to be arraigned at Hillsborough County Superior Court Northern District in Manchester tomorrow. CNN reached out to Adams' attorneys, Caroline Smith and Paige Buckley, for comment. At today's news conference, Manchester Police Chief Alan Aidenberg, is it Aidenberg or Aldenberg? Oh, Aldenberg. He was on the morning show recently. Emotionally thanked those who helped find justice for Harmony. He said, quote, "Although we were all pleased that we were able to bring forth these charges, they are of no solace to myself, the detectives behind me who have worked tirelessly on this investigation. And more importantly, they bring no solace to the loved ones of Harmony Montgomery and her family and friends," unquote. So that is the update there. Some breaking news this afternoon on that. So, like I said, I hate to start the show off in terms of our subject matter with something like that, but you know, it's a lot of people have been following this story. Scott Robinson in the chat room says the death penalty would be too kind for that bastard. Well, you know, Scott and I, you've probably heard me talk about it. I do oppose the death penalty. And one of the reasons is, you know, I agree with you. That would be too kind because, from what I understand, you know, unless this is just lore and it's not accurate, but, from what I've always heard is, people who harm children don't do well in prison. So he might not do well in prison, if you get my drift. Jesus. Okay. Well, let's we'll move on from there. Again, 603-250-6007 is the number. 603-250-6007. Jenny said they said he is in Valley Street Jail, I think. Well, Valley Street has quite the reputation. So that's a good place for him. Alex Whiteley says chuck him in a hole and give him Magadi bread for the rest of his life. I don't know what that is. Magadi bread. What is that, Alex? I assume that's something we don't say here. Oh, Alex says the gulag comes to mind. Yes. I do want to, because we were talking about it. I have an explainer here from the AP that's that gets into a little bit about, we were talking about the new prime minister who has been chosen for the UK. And obviously our friend Alex is, maggots. That's what Magadi means, maggots. Ooh, oh my goodness. We're talking about the new prime minister in the UK, and we'll see if this guy lasts. Liz Truss lasted a whole 44 days. I assume he will, but I thought this would be an interesting thing to look at. And I meant to, John Hopwood was here when he was here last week. I wanted to get into this with him because he knows much more about the UK's system of government and parliament and how all of that works. And we just never got to it the day that he was here. But there's an explainer here. Why, this is from the AP, why the British public is not choosing its leader. And from what I understand, and Alex can correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll also look at this from the AP, is, they elect a party, and then the controlling party, which in this case is currently the Conservative Party or the Tories, if I have that right, they get to choose who the prime minister is. So they vote on that. So it's not like here where, and granted, in the United States, we don't directly vote for our president either, because we have the electoral college system. That's why, sometimes whoever wins the popular vote doesn't necessarily win the presidency. But it's very different there. And that's why, so someone resigns and then they pick someone else. The party picks someone else to replace them. Whereas in the United States, say, for example, when Richard Nixon resigned, Gerald Ford became president because he was the vice president, and that's how that works. And then the new president, who was the former vice president, then appoints a veep. But this is, I think this would be helpful to all of us, including myself, because, like I said, I am far from an expert on this. So this is an explainer of why the British public is not choosing its leader. So it says here, observers of British politics can be forgiven for scratching their heads in recent weeks as they watch the country reel through prime ministers without holding an election. While the opposition Labour Party is demanding an election, the governing Conservatives have just chosen another leader from within their own ranks. Rishi Sunak, the third prime minister since September. They have the right to do so because of the way Britain's parliamentary democracy works. Britons never actually vote for their prime minister. It says Britain is divided into 650 local constituencies, and during an election, voters tick a box for the representative they want to become their local member of parliament. In most cases, this will be a member of one of the country's major political parties, the Conservatives, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, and the Greens. So they have 4 major parties, unlike the United States. Oh, Nick in the chat room says, that sounds right, but it is England, so they probably have to sign. I hope Alex Whiteley doesn't mind this. So they have to sign the Wibbity Boomble Pip Pip Cherry-O and have a spot of tea before Boris or whoever gets to be king. Let me read that comment again and see if I can do it without stumbling on it to really do it justice. That sounds right, but it is England. So they probably have to sign the Wibbity Bomble Pip Pip Cherry-O and have a spot of tea before Boris or whoever gets to be king. Yes, Jenny wanted to hear that again. It is fun to say. Wibbity Boomble Pip Pip Cherry-O? Wibbity Boomble Pip Pip Cherry-O. I should start the show every day that way. That'd be fun. My goodness. Let's see. It says here, the party that wins the majority of seats in the House of Commons gets to form a government. And the party's leader automatically becomes the prime minister. While coalitions are possible, Britain's voting system favors the 2 largest parties, the Conservatives or Labour. In most cases, a single party will be an absolute majority of seats, as is the case for the Conservatives in the current parliament. Nick says, nah, I mean, for real, what you said sounds like my understanding. Oh, that really is how it works. Well, that's probably a part of the ceremonial aspect of it. You know, see, now I'm looking for excuses to say it again. That, you know, like in the United States, when we swear in a president, you know, he has to do the whole swearing in. That's probably part of their swearing in the UK is they have to sign the Wibbity Boomble Pip Pip Cherry-O and have a spot of tea. So I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Good thing I'm not dyslexic. Can you imagine how much harder of a time I'd be having with that? Okay, Alex Whiteley says, I'm in work, so I can't call in and not an expert in politics. However, I can absolutely tell you that there have been total failures across the board throughout the pandemic, mass corruption, laws being broken, and there seems to be no way of stopping their atrocious behavior. But Alex, I have to wonder, would they behave less atrociously if they were to sign a Wibbity Boomble Pip Pip Cherry-O and have a spot of tea? Maybe that's the answer. Don't blame me. Blame Nick Murdoch for that. All right. Will there be a general election soon? The last general election in Britain was in 2019, and constitutionally, another is not required until 2024. But with the selection of a third prime minister by just a tiny proportion of the population, a lot of Britons are beginning to wonder why they are not getting a chance to influence who their next leader is. The clamor for a general election in the near future is only likely to get louder. Alex Whiteley says, I want them to. That sounds amazing. Haha. Nick says, "Nah, man, I'm ruining Matt's show today. I'm so sorry." No, not at all, Nick. You are an enhancement, my friend. Crystal in the chat says, "Doesn't UK Parliament often get into some heated debate, sometimes with fists flying? Maybe they forgot to give them the pip pip cheerio spot of tea on those days. That could be. That could be. I'll tell you what. So, way back in the day when I had something called cable, on Sunday nights on C-SPAN, and I assume they still do it, they would show the House of Commons, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of jeering and both cheering and jeering, and it does get pretty wild. It's kind of fun to watch. I never knew what they were talking about. I never understood, but it was fun to watch. Absolutely. Oh, we have a call coming in. Hi, welcome to Matt Connerton Unleashed. Who's this? Hello? Hello?
It's Gary.
Hey, turn your radio.
Hi, Matt. It's Gary.
Hey, Gary. How you doing? Gary, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you listening through your phone or the radio?
Good. I think they should allow Larry the cat to pick the prime minister.
Yeah? I don't even know who that is. Gary, you got to listen through your phone, not the radio.
Larry the cat is the mouser. He takes care of all the mice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm listening on my phone.
Oh, because for some reason it seems
Can you
like...
hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear... No, I can hear you fine. It just it seemed like... Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, something went awry. Okay. Charles Richardson in the Facebook live chat and says, my wife and I agree to whippity boom boom with a shout of cheerio before we have a spot of liquor. Oh my goodness. Wow. Scary calling back. Hi, Gary. Is that you?
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
That's much better. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having problems. Where I live down like in the dungeon. So when it's cloudy, I have problems with my phone.
Yeah.
You don't know who Larry the cat is?
No clue.
Larry is the cat at 10 Downing Street that takes care of all the mice. He kills all the mice. And if he doesn't like the prime minister, he doesn't go near it, and he hisses at it. So he didn't like Trust. So I think that's why she had to leave.
That makes sense. Had she stayed any longer, perhaps Larry the cat would have clawed her eyes out. And
I think he would have.
And I'm sorry to be gruesome.
Well, he liked Boris. He liked Boris because Boris would sit down and feed him all sorts of crap at the parties, and with the way his hair was, he looked like a scraggly cat, and he used to sit on Boris's lap all the time. So.
Yes.
But I believe that's what the English people should do. They should allow Larry the cat to say, okay, we're going to bring a few people in. It'd be like a dating service, and whoever he liked and sat with, I think they should be the prime minister.
Well, cats have good taste in people, and
they do.
But I'm surprised that the cat's name is Larry and not Lawrence. You would think it would be something
Larry.
more formal.
And he's been there longer than any of the last three prime ministers.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Larry,
it's a fun fact. I know it's useless information, but it's a fun fact.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Well, I'll learn something.
Have Jenny look it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Jenny, look that up.
All right, well, I'll let you go. I don't want to be boring and too long.
All right. No worries, my friend. Always nice to hear from you.
All right. Send my love to Jenny.
I will. All right, Gary. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right. That was our friend Gary. I did not know about Larry the cat. Crystal in the chat room says maybe they each need to be given Paddington Bear to cuddle with when it gets too wild in Parliament. Jenny says, what am I looking? Oh, Gary wanted you to look up Larry the cat. I didn't know about Larry the cat. And Jenny also says Huggles, Gary. No, the cat's name is Larry, not Huggles. That would be a good name for a cat, though. Oh, Nick Murdoch shared a link for you there for everyone who wants to see it. Very nice. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. So it says here, the prime minister has the power to call an election earlier. So yeah, so that's something that I wondered about, because it seems like there have been times where, recently, in fact, who was the prime minister? Because they actually went and voted for Boris, right? For Boris Johnson. Who was the prime minister before Boris Johnson who left? I can't remember now. I can totally picture him, but I can't remember him. Anyway. So the prime minister has the power to call an election earlier, but with the Conservative Party trailing well behind the opposition Labour Party in the latest polls, Sunak is unlikely to do so. Is this Sunak? Lawmakers can also trigger an election by winning a vote of no confidence in the government in the House of Commons, but that would require Conservatives to vote against their own party's government. So just a little explainer. I thought that might be helpful to some of us. I found it useful on why they don't get to just get to just vote for their leader. Now, if I can find it quickly, I'm very curious. Our friend Ron called in about the story that he saw in 60 Minutes about Dominion, the voting machines. And, of course, we've heard people like Rudy Giuliani. I'm pretty sure when Rudy Giuliani was standing in front of, America's mayor, of course, Rudy Giuliani, when he was standing in front of, Four Seasons Landscaping and Lawn Care with black goop dripping down his face. I'm pretty sure he mentioned Dominion voting machines once or twice. And I think our friend Alex Whiteley is going to be Skyping in. So I've got that ready for you, Alex. He says I'm reinstalling Skype. Nick says Philip Hammond was British Prime Minister before Bojo. I don't even remember Philip Hammond. How weird is that? Apparently, Mr. Hammond never made much of an impression on me. I don't even remember him. I literally don't. I can't even picture him. I pictured someone. I mean, you heard me say I can picture him, but whoever I pictured was not. I think I was picturing Tony Blair or somebody from the past. I don't know. Or Gordon Brown. Philip Hammond. Totally not familiar. Let's see. Let's go to... Oh, I see. CBS News has a story, and we'll hold the line on that. Alex, is that you?
It is. It's me. Can you hear me?
Yes. You sound great.
I'm in work, right? So don't tell anyone. Shh. Don't tell anyone. Right? But I thought I couldn't sit here and see this discussion happen and not call in. So
yes,
it's a mess at the moment. It really is. And I think the worst thing at the moment is people have gone absolutely bonkers because the comments on Facebook. People were calling for Boris Johnson to come back after Liz Truss stepped down. And Boris Johnson stepped down because he willingly hired someone knowing that they had been, they had a history of sexual assault.
Yes.
And he knew and kept it to himself. And so he had to step down because he broke the law for the second time. Whilst being Prime Minister, you may remember during the pandemic, they held parties at Downing Street illegally while everybody else was sort of self-isolating and what have you. So this was a guy that couldn't be trusted, lied, cheated, broke the law, and people were like, we want Boris back after Liz Truss had messed everything up with the economy. So first of all, the public can't be trusted. Not take into account at all. And Rishi Sunak, there was a video that had appeared from years ago. He was interviewed on TV, and he is an aristocrat, and he comes from a lot of wealth. But he was sitting talking that he has no working class friends, and he's very much all about tax breaks for the rich, and no help at all for the common people. So it's going to get really, really difficult.
Yeah, I wonder if it sounds like it's the same there as it is here in America. In America, you can tell a lot of people, and millions of people believe it, that if you do everything you can to protect the wealthy and the super wealthy and shield them from paying taxes, that somehow benefits everyone. And millions of Americans just go, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to vote for you. Even though there's,
trickle down economics, trickle down, is it?
Yeah, trickle down economics, supply side economics. Yeah, and millions of people just buy in. It's very easy to convince poor white rural Americans that as long as we protect the super rich, maybe these poor white rural Americans have a shot. And people just kind of believe that. I assume it's the same there.
For some reason the working class. I've got nothing against. I'm a working class bloke. That's my background. So I've got nothing against folks from that background.
Yeah.
But they seem to really cling on to these right wing ideas, and I don't know where that comes from. I really don't. I think at the moment it's very much Brexit is still very much a driving force when it comes to politics here in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
They've got it. You seem to have got it into their heads that as soon as Labour gets in power, they're going to reverse everything and we're going to be back in the EU. I don't know. I don't think that could possibly happen. It would just absolutely ruin the economy more than what Liz Truss has done. But that's the idea behind it is, we're not going back into Europe. If you go back into Labour, we will end up, Brexit will be worth nothing. So that seems to be a huge driving force, and that is, I think, down to a lot of ignorance.
By the way, I just want to mention Nick Murdoch in the chat room corrected himself. It was Theresa May who was PM before Bojo, not Phil Hammond. So he corrected himself there.
And this is the thing, right? So since David Cameron was Prime Minister, so he was very much against Brexit. And he was like, if Brexit happens, I'm stepping down, right? So Brexit happened, he stepped down, and Theresa May took his place. And she was awful. She was terrible. She really was. And then Boris Johnson took over from her, and he has just been an absolute awful mess since he took. He's probably one of the most laughable prime ministers ever. It's absolutely diabolical. Now Liz Truss, I feel so sorry for in a way, because she was in power for 44 days, but in those 44 days, the Queen died.
Mm-hmm.
The England got knocked out of the European. There's a European tournament here, a bit like the Copa de Americas. It's sort of like it's a league. England got knocked out of there. The economy tanked, and as well, she met with the Lionesses, the England Lions, England women's football team, and they lost their 15-game winning streak. So she's got the worst luck attached to any prime minister. It's so hilarious.
Wow. Was she able to actually do anything, though, from a practical standpoint that harmed the economy, or was it more just her saying what she wanted to do that sent the markets into a tailspin?
I think what happened was she chose the wrong person to look at the economy, and they did a mini budget, and part of the mini budget was this huge tax break for the rich.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of trickle down sort of influx. And there was absolute nationwide outrage, and it was awful. People were getting really angry,
mm-hmm.
But they put it all in place. Everything was set up, ready to go. And then she changed her mind. She was like, "No, you can't do that," and she sacked the guy that had come up with that idea. So she's actually lost lots and lots of money, and the economy. The pound is now, I think it's nearly level with the dollar at the moment.
Wow.
And that's all because of what's going on with the government. It just seems to be no competence there.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic was an absolute mess.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you had members of the cabinet breaking the rules. You had the prime minister throwing these parties. There was affairs that was going on during the. They just can't seem to make any good decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
When is there another actual election?
Well, they're calling for one, and I get that. Rishi Sunak's into power because you can't leave the car going without a driver, right? You can't.
Yeah.
So there's got to be someone behind the wheel. I get that. So I guess what's going to happen is Rishi's going to take power, and then they're going to put together a general election. People are crying for it.
Yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense. But in the short term, you sound like you're not optimistic. But I mean, is he going to is he going to do some of what Liz Truss was intending? Because it sounds like he's pretty right wing himself, right?
I know apparently he has a plan.
Yeah.
But I saw it on the front page of the papers. I don't really read the papers. I think they're garbage. But I remember seeing a headline saying Rishi Sunak reckons he's going to save the economy. But then again, Rishi Sunak. So did Liz Truss. She said that as well. So
what is the status of the economy there? Because in America, we're in this weird place, as you might know, where on one hand we have runaway inflation, but on the other hand we have 3.5% unemployment, which is the only reason no one says we're in a recession, because no one's ever heard of a recession with 3.5% unemployment. So our economy continues to grow. Actually, it's just that inflation is so bad it makes people feel like we're in a recession. And we have wage inflation, but the wage inflation has not kept pace with price inflation. So yeah, people are making more, but everything's costing even more than the increase in what people are making. I mean, are you in kind of a similar situation there?
Yeah, I think everything's in a bit of a mess because we've got like a two-pronged attack at the moment because imports because of Brexit have skyrocketed, the prices of imports.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get Lurpak butter over there. It's a very popular brand, and because it came from Scandinavia, the prices went up to ridiculous prices. It was like £6 a tub or something. It was ridiculous prices.
Wow.
Silly little things that have really affected the economy.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the war in Russia as well.
Yes.
The prices of fuel, which has a knock-on effect with everything.
Mm-hmm.
People can't afford to go out. They can't afford to go on holidays. Christmas is going to be an absolute nightmare because people won't be able to go out and spend money. So, I mean, from looking at it, the only thing you can do is lower the price of fuel, and that will probably boost economics. But there doesn't seem to be anybody that has the power to do that at the moment.
Right. And what about over there? What about support for Ukraine and continuing to help Ukraine? Is that remaining steady, or is that starting to fall off a little bit? Because I don't know if you've seen here, Alex, but Kevin McCarthy, who is likely to be our next Speaker of the House next term, he's already signaling that Republicans in the new year are not necessarily going to continue to at least sign a blank check for support for Ukraine. And I think Putin is just, people here aren't really connecting the dots, but it looks to me like Putin is just going to try to run out the clock until America loses its resolve. But how are people there feeling about it?
I saw a headline today. I was filling up my fuel and I saw it. And apparently Putin is blaming the West for sort of pitching Ukraine up and trying to make them more aggressive in the war, which I think in theory, yeah, we are. We're supplying them tanks and equipment, aren't we? But you know what? I mean, it might get to a point with our economy. Our economy is crashing, and it looks like we could end up going into a recession. It looks like we might get to a point where we might not be able to, whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
Bad.
There's some hard choices coming, I think. I mean, I support Ukraine and I support helping Ukraine, but I went through an isolationist phase in my life, maybe probably more than a decade ago. I still have those impulses occasionally. You know what I mean? That little part of me that goes, geez, should we be doing what we're doing because we're at the harm of ourselves and Europe and
I think it's more about I think when you think about Russia, first of all, I think Russia are absolutely there's no way they wouldn't have been able to invade Ukraine. If they went to war with the UK or with America, they'd fight with so much more force than what they are in Ukraine at the moment. I really do think they're hustling people at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about war with Russia, I think more about their allies. If it came out to all out war with Russia, China gets involved and North Korea and all these, it would just be horrible, wouldn't it? It would absolutely be awful. So I think people are just trying to be careful with it. I think help a little bit, but don't seem like you're being the aggressor. But yeah, when it comes to, did you hear about the lettuce, by the way, with Liz Truss?
Oh yes. Yes, who would they wanted to see who would last longer, Liz Truss or a head of lettuce, and the lettuce won.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But yeah, you know what? I feel like when it comes to the funny things in the comments I've seen today, I think that's hilarious. I think we deserve it. To be honest, bring it on, because I think we're a mess, and this is why I brought the comment up at the beginning of the show. Is like, whenever things have been happening with Trump, with you guys, from the outside, it looks awful. It really does. And, I know you guys felt it, inside the country. But from the outside, I imagine we just look like idiots to you guys. Absolute idiots.
Well, again, I make no judgments. Again, for the exact reason that you brought up. We've certainly had our own. And continue to have our own moments. And Biden doesn't exactly cover himself in glory at times either, because, he's old and confused. So, I was saying the other day on the show, maybe it's time we, if we're going to keep electing older and older people, maybe it's time we dig up Dwight D. Eisenhower and, figure out a way to reanimate him and he can be our president. But, at least you haven't done that in the UK. You're not electing extremely old people.
I think that there should be some young blood, injected into politics.
Yes.
Yeah, I was at a music awards after party at the weekend, interviewing young rappers and producers and stuff. And, I felt so bad because there was this guy I spoke to and I thought, this guy's going to be an idiot. But he was lovely. He was a really good guy. He had some really good head on his shoulders, and the interview was actually fantastic. And I felt so guilty for judging this guy. But and I feel like there is definitely room out there in there, for sort of young people to step in and sort of work with the older generation. Because I'm not being funny, but the generation that's running the world right now are failing, absolutely failing. I feel like they've had their chance. Let's pump into blood and see if we can work together with the younger generation.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Alex, we're at the top of the hour, so we'll let you go. We've got to get to a break, but I appreciate your Skyping in, and it's always wonderful to speak with you.
Love the show. I love everybody involved with it. Thank you very much for keeping me coming on the show. I love it.
Absolutely. Anything you want to plug before you go?
No, because there's a few things I'm kind of clearing the slate a little bit, so because I've got to make room for new ideas that's coming on. When they're all up and running, I will come on the show and talk about them.
Awesome. Okay.
Lots happening, lots of good stuff.
Oh, good. That is good to hear. All right, Alex Whiteley, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Peace out, guys.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's our friend Alex Whiteley from the UK. And by the way, Crystal in the chat room said, Boris was a slob. Every Brit I've ever known has always been impeccably dressed. And then there's Boris, who looks like he rolled out of bed and hasn't showered in a week. Well, it's the hair, though. It's all about the hair. He's got that that's something he had in, Crystal even said Boris and Trump have the same bad hairstylist, I think. Yeah, I never understood Boris's hair. I mean, Trump, we know what it is with Trump. It's not even a comb over. It's like a comb forward and around and a whole big thing. Boris always looks to me like he has a full head of hair. He looks like I don't know what the UK's equivalent of Supercuts is, but I don't know. Melanie La Liberty says, election age limit, we have a minimum. That's true. You have to be a minimum of 35 to be president. I don't want to be ageist. I mean, geez, there's people much, much older than, President Biden who seem pretty mentally sharp, and acute. I just, he's coming up on 80 and, he has some good moments, but there's also times when it's like, I don't know. Especially, we're in such a fragile moment in terms of foreign policy. I just would like someone a little younger. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And when we elected Trump, we elected the oldest president that we had to that date. And then when we elected Biden, we elected the oldest president we had to that date. To date, Biden is even older. And then if we reelect Trump in 2024, which is a possibility, he'll be even older than he was the first time he was president. And that's why I always make the joke, maybe we should just, at this rate, let's just dig up Dwight D. Eisenhower. We'll have to find out where he's buried. I do keep a shovel in the back of my trunk. I'm not going to explain why. And I'll need someone to hold a flashlight, but while I dig. But my God. Melanie says, not ageist, need a certain amount of experience to be elected. Need to make sure they are still in touch with issues of today. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get to a break. I'm going to play another Edgewise song. This is from the new album, Fallen, from Serpents and Snake Oil. I don't know if our friend Chris is still listening, but again, thank you to those guys. I had a great time Friday night with them at the Angel City Music Hall, which is a very, very cool room, by the way, if you haven't been in there yet. But we'll play this. This is Fallen from Edgewise, and then we'll be back with hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Say it with me.
With your permission, I'm going to take my coat off. Welcome to the White House, everybody. But guess what? I'm not stopping here. Think about what you think about. Say it again, and that's a fact. Think about what you think about. Folks, look. Think about what you think about. I'm serious, think about it. Think about what you think about. Let's be honest. No, you're not going to get your way. This time, not this year, not this time, not now. So I don't want to hear it anymore about big spending Democrats. We spend, but we pay. We spend, but we pay. This year, the American people won. It's wrong. It's not who we are, and we're going to fix that too. Think about what you think about. Say it again, and that's a fact. Think about what you think about. Folks, look. Think about what you think about. I'm serious, think about it. Think about what you think about. Let's be honest. We are the United States of America. There's nothing we've ever set our mind to. Nothing. Too often. We confuse noise with substance, and there's no rhyme or reason to that. Think about how you feel. We're gonna come back at it.
I'll circle back.
Nobody can doubt. Nobody can any longer doubt. Not a joke. Think about it. Think about what you think about. Say it again, and that's a fact. Think about what you think about. Folks, look. Think about what you think about. I'm serious, think about it. Think about what you think about. Think about what you think about. Think about how you feel. Good thing my mom's not around. Folks, think about what you think about. Let's be honest, it's wrong. But guess what? I'm not stopping here. Think about what you think about. Think about how you feel. We're gonna fix that too. Think about what you think about. How you feel. Folks, look. Here's the deal. Think about what you think about. Say it again, and that's a fact. Think about what you think about. Folks, look. Think about what you think about. I'm serious, think about it. Think about what you think about. Oh, I like that.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria.
For delivery, call 603-782-8450.
Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town.
1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Best cocktails around.
Come in as friends and leave as family.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
WMNH, rip the knob off.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are well in hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connerton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Monday, October 24, 2022. So nice to have you all with me. And if you would like to join me on the program, you can call the studio line at 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can text me at 617-917-4476. Find me on social media at Matt Connerton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. And yes, I did play that song for Jason Federson. Think about what you'd think about. Again, from that dope MC, Joe Biden. Joe Robinette Biden. Let's see. I wanted to look at this quickly. This is our friend Ron called earlier and mentioned the piece last night, the segment on 60 Minutes about the Dominion voting systems. So I found this on the website for CBS News, cbsnews.com. Dominion voting system CEO speaks out against conspiracy theories. We'll look at this quickly. I'm not going to play the segment itself, obviously, but Gonzo's in the Facebook live chat and says, "Hello, Matt. Can I get a hair whip?" No. When I had long hair, I would have whipped my hair around for you. And N Saturn, one of my favorite commenters, is in the chat room and says, "Good afternoon, #Matt. We say hello. We are a pop singing group." So I've heard. And Jason Federson says, "You are the best, we say to you, #Matt. Thank you. Thank you. So it says here, despite a rash of unsubstantiated claims lobbed against his company, the CEO of Dominion Voting Systems, John Poulos, has remained largely silent. That changed last night on 60 Minutes when Poulos sat down with Anderson Cooper, saying irreparable damage has been done to his company and his employees. Quote, "People have been put into danger. Their families have been put into danger. Their lives have been upended, and all because of lies. It was very clear. It was a very clear calculation that they knew they were lies, and they were repeating them after endorsing them." Unquote. Yeah, that's one of the problems, of course, of spreading this stuff. That's why I don't indulge. There was a time, and I've talked about it on the show, there was a time years ago, if a conspiracy theorist wanted to come on the show and spew their nonsense, I thought it was fun and harmless, and, hearing about the Illuminati and lizard people and things like that, okay, whatever. But I don't find any kind of conspiracy theories really amusing or harmless anymore. Whether it's Alex Jones spreading conspiracy theories and lies about, the murder of those children at Sandy Hook, thus putting those families in danger where, not only do they have to grieve their dead kids, but now they have to worry about lunatics coming after them because Alex Jones told them that these families are all crisis actors pretending that they had children when they're actually in on some big scam, and then next thing you know, you've got death threats against those families. You've got people stalking those families, harassing those families on top of them grieving. So the conspiracy theories aren't funny or amusing to me anymore. I mean, I guess flat earthers are harmless enough still, but overall, I just don't find that kind of stuff amusing anymore. I don't find just like I don't find all the conspiracy theories and sub-theories associated with the big lie, of course, that the election was stolen and that Trump actually won. I don't find any of that funny anymore. There's been too many people who've been harassed, put in danger, election workers, who's the one, what's her name? Ruby, I forget her name, Ruby something, who now, she's afraid to even go outside of her house. What state was she in? Georgia, because Trump called her an election hustler or something. And, which he just made up, right? He just makes this stuff up, just talks up, but it has real world consequences, right? Then these people end up being harassed and in some cases put in direct harm because of this perpetuating the big lie, and that everyone, everyone who has anything to do with running an election in their local town or precinct or works for one of these companies like Dominion Voting Systems, they're all in on it. And that puts people in harm's way. And for what? They know it's BS. That's why when they go to court, I say all the time, I say to the election deniers, look, every single time these people get into a courtroom, in more than 60 of these cases across the country, it always gets dismissed because they have nothing. They have no evidence. Rudy Giuliani can stand in front of Four Seasons Lawnscaping and Lawn Care, whatever it is, with black goop dripping down his face and ramble for 45 minutes about whatever he wants to. And of course, everyone who's predisposed to believe in him, who wants to believe him, they say, oh, wow, listen to all that information he gave us. Whereas if you go back and actually read a transcript of it, it's nothing. He's just making it up off the top of his head. But then once he gets into a courtroom, right, whether it's him or Sidney Powell or Jenna Ellis, and they have to go before a judge and swear under penalty of perjury, they say, well, we don't have any evidence. It's all theory. We don't have any actual evidence that anything happened. And then the case gets tossed immediately, in many instances by Trump-appointed judges. Why? Because they just make it all up. They just make it all up. And that's why Dominion, and it probably mentions it here, Dominion has this enormous lawsuit against Fox News, for example. That they're just one of the named parties who are being sued. And I think they're suing Rudy Giuliani, and I don't know who else they're suing, because, this company's reputation has been damaged by this nonsense. Even Bill Barr, Attorney General William Barr, he was Trump's Attorney General and absolutely a Trump loyalist, clearly a Trump loyalist. And even Bill Barr said, there's nothing here. It's BS. He told Trump that it's BS. And guess who didn't stick around till the end of the administration? Bill Barr. But if someone as loyal to Trump as him is going to say, look, honestly, there's just nothing here, then, there's probably just nothing there. Anyway. Well, we've got some very sore losers in this country, don't we? So Anderson Cooper said to Poulos from Dominion, quote, "It's important to you people admit what they said was wrong." And Poulos answered, quote, "It's important to me. It's important to all the people whose families have been impacted by this. Anderson, my kids are still not allowed to get any package from the front door until we verify that it's actually from a trusted sender," unquote. Days after the 2020 presidential election, lawyers supporting then-President Donald Trump, including Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, began spreading unsubstantiated claims that Dominion Voting Systems, an American company, had rigged the election. They said Dominion was backed by Venezuela and that its machines and software switched millions of votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. They never showed any evidence, but that didn't stop pro-Trump attorneys from making baseless claims or conservative news networks from giving them plenty of airtime. Poulos went through a number of their claims with Cooper, dismissing each one. Cooper asked, quote, "Were you associated with the late Hugo Chavez?" "Absolutely not," Poulos said. Cooper asked, "Do you use a Venezuelan company's software that's been used to steal elections in other countries?" "Absolutely not," Poulos said. "Anderson, I can tell you, I can cut all of this short. We were founded in Toronto, which is where my family was from, and there's nothing to do with Venezuela." Cooper asked, "Can you flip votes in the computer system? Can you add votes that did not exist?" "Absolutely not," Poulos responded. Trump first mentioned Dominion in a tweet on November 12, 2020, and recorded a video a few weeks later posted on Facebook in which he said, quote, "We have a company that's very suspect. Its name is Dominion. With the turn of a dial or the change of a chip, you can press a button for Trump and the vote goes to Biden. What kind of a system is this? We have to go to paper. Maybe it takes longer, but the only secure system is paper." And then Poulos said, and I thought it was common knowledge, quote, "We do have paper ballots. What the machines do is they count those paper ballots in a way that makes it very easy for people to verify after the fact through the means of audits and recounts," unquote. And again, I thought that was common knowledge. Yes, voting is done by paper ballot still, in spite of all the technology we have, because people don't trust the technology. And of course, technology can be manipulated. If you have a paper ballot, you have an actual, verifiable, tangible record of a vote. That is why we still use paper ballots. That's why we will probably always use paper ballots. Right? Dominion makes two types of machines. One is called a ballot marker. It's a touchscreen device that a voter can use to mark their choices and then print the ballot. The second machine is a scanner that reads the paper ballot, counts the vote, and immediately stores the ballot securely. We have a call. I think this is our friend Charles Richardson on the line. Charles, is that you?
Yeah. Listen, I just think we need to scrap all the ways that we've done voting in the past, and for 99 cents per vote, we do the American Idol vote.
Yeah, but
I mean, number one, that will go ahead and help the economy. 99 cents for what? Maybe 50 million votes. You can vote as many times as you want. Or maybe $1.99 or whatever the case may be. And you know what? Because nobody who's ever watched American Idol, which I can't say I have anymore, and it's just so horrible. But anyway, nobody's ever watched American Idol has ever complained about a vote. So let's go with what works, right? Let's go with something that's never been complained about, never been, in a media circus saying it was a scam and this one actually won, and except for Sanjaya, which we know how Stern influenced that one, but still,
yes, right.
Besides that,
right,
Sanjaya didn't win.
True, but Sanjaya did do well, which does prove that the vote can be manipulated.
Oh, I'm sure it can be, but all votes can be manipulated. That's the thing. But let's go to a regular system where nobody's really pitched a fuss.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't have any. I personally, in all seriousness, I really don't have any faith in the voting system anymore. I think every time I go up to punch a card or to press a button or put my fingerprint or something, hand over my ID, it's just another way invasion of privacy, another way for them to go ahead and just take their votes like, which vote should we give it to? Oh, let's do this one. Let's do this candidate. It's just, I don't have any faith anymore. And maybe that's bad for me to say, but I just really don't have any faith anymore in the system. I really don't.
Well, it's not bad for you to say if that's how you feel about it. I mean, I do have faith in the system. The 2020 election was actually, despite what the election deniers will tell you, it was the most verified, the most audited election in history. So I do have faith in it. However, Charles, I can understand your perspective because you are from Florida. Or not originally, I know, but you live in Florida, and Florida is the land of the hanging Chad. And so I can understand why that might trouble you.
And speaking of that, you're telling me that I'm from Florida, which I am. I want to humbly request that you no longer, when you announce me in the chat, I am not from the great state of Florida. Okay? Because if it's run by DeSantis, it is nowhere close to a great state. It is nowhere close whatsoever to a great state when you have a bumbling idiot who goes ahead and abuses his power. A bumbling idiot who lies. It's just, there's no great state. So basically, when you go ahead and announce me, the Stanford, just go ahead and say he is from the mediocre state of Florida.
Right. The mediocre state of Florida. All right.
Yes.
Well, you are probably getting him for another term. There's a big debate tonight. He's debating Charlie Crist, but DeSantis is ahead in the polls, so you're probably stuck with him.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Crist ain't no... we're screwed either way. It's just, it doesn't matter. It's like the election. You vote for Biden, you vote for Trump. You're taking the lesser of two evils. It's really just how much. Block me if this is too much. How much lube do you want to get It really is. It comes down to that.
Right.
So, anyway, I'll get up to him before I start saying something I regret.
All right, Charles, thank you for the call.
Yeah, you got it. Take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that is Charles Richardson from the mediocre state of Florida. Apparently, he would prefer. That's fine. We're adaptable here, and we aim to please. The Charles Richardson Show, of course, every Monday and Wednesday and Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. online. You can listen to that, and you can watch it too on the YouTube. Crystal in the chat room said hashtag pip pip cheerio. Let's we'll finish on this Dominion thing, and then there's one other thing I want to try to get in today. Let's see. Oh, and I lost. Oh, where'd that? Oh, here we go. Okay, so just to finish on what Poulos was saying in this interview, quote, a voter takes a paper ballot. They've made their marks. However, they make their marks depending on the jurisdiction. As they deposit it into the ballot box, it goes through a digital scanner and then drops it into the ballot box. So how do you hack a paper ballot, unquote? And then he showed Anderson Cooper how the machines work. Poulos showed him. He said, this is the scanner that sits atop a locked and sealed ballot box. This is how they cast their ballot, goes through the scanner, and now we have an image of the ballot that we just cast. And we have the paper ballot that is used for recounts, unquote. Poulos said, watching the presidential recounts in Florida in 2000, which I, of course, referenced with Charles on the line, the hanging chads. Poulos said, watching the presidential recounts in Florida in 2000 with arguments over hanging chads got him interested in improving how paper ballots were marked and counted. He was an engineer working at a startup in Silicon Valley and began looking at ways to make it easier to recount paper ballots and help people with disabilities vote without assistance. He said, quote, our goal was to allow any voter to make their marks on a paper ballot in a very clear, unambiguous way, regardless of physical ability, unquote. Now, he says he and his company are the targets of lies, threats, and harassments. Cooper asks him, do you ever think to yourself, I got into this to help paraplegics and blind people vote more easily, and look what's happened? And Poulos said, I think about it all the time. Dominion has filed, oh, wow. Okay, this is more than I thought. Dominion has filed 8 lawsuits seeking more than $10 billion in damages against Fox News and other networks, corporations, and individuals. I think Newsmax was included, right? Aren't they also? Isn't Newsmax one of the networks? In a statement to 60 Minutes, Fox said it's confident it will prevail in the Dominion litigation, citing protections of the First Amendment. Fox also said it was reporting on newsworthy allegations by then President Trump, and that it aired segments fact-checking the allegations against Dominion. Did they? I mean, if that's true, if they did, that might help their case. I mean, if they were actually fact-checking Trump's claims. Efforts by Fox News and other defendants to have the Dominion lawsuits dismissed have been rejected by the courts. So there you go. So that's the segment that Ron was talking about when he called in about from 60 Minutes. 603-250-6007 is the number if you'd like to join us. 603-250-6007. Oh yeah, we have time. Well, let me we'll get caught up with the chat room here. Crystal in the chat says, what's up with Biden licking ice cream cones? Why does the media keep reporting on that as if it's real news? It isn't. The guy likes ice cream. So do most Americans. Yeah, that's like I see that a lot in conservatives on social media. When they want to make fun of Biden, they post a picture of him licking an ice cream cone. I don't get it either. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, let's, N Saturn says, we say hashtag Matt Connerton. We are performing for the hashtag Fall Festival at Hilltop Road in Greensboro, North Carolina on November 26th for sure. N Saturn also says, hi, hashtag Charles Richardson. We say to you from us, a pop singing group, N Saturn. We say that is true, hashtag Matt. He is from Florida. Okay, hashtag Matt Connerton. We heard that. Yes. Okay, very good. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. This is interesting. So CNBC reports, and Jenny brought this to my attention earlier. Actually, I have two things I want to try to get in, but we might only be able to do this one. Merrick Garland made a statement today publicly. Chinese intelligence officers charged with obstructing Huawei prosecution as Department of Justice reveals 2 more cases of China interference. And, we've talked about it on the show, but before we get into the heart of the matter here, we've talked about how Christopher Wray made a statement several months back, or might have been a year ago now, might have been longer. I don't know the time. It all blurs together. Christopher Wray said that when he became head of the FBI, he always knew that the Chinese were trying to interfere, and there's corporate espionage, and there's stealing our intellectual property, and cyber attacks, and so forth, all of it. But Wray said he didn't realize until he became head of the FBI just how bad it is, just to what, and just the full extent to which China really tries to mess with us and interfere. So some key points from this. 2 Chinese intelligence officers have been criminally charged with attempting to obstruct the prosecution of the Huawei Global Telecommunications Company, federal court files reveal. The criminal complaint accuses Guochen, I'm not sure how to say that, Guochen He and Zhuang Wang of paying a U.S. government employee a total of $61,000 worth of Bitcoin cryptocurrency for confidential information about the Department of Justice's pending prosecution of China-based Huawei. The information included details about witnesses, trial evidence, and potential new charges to be brought against Huawei, according to the complaint in U.S. District Court in Brooklyn, New York. It says 2 Chinese intelligence officers have been criminally charged with attempting to obstruct the prosecution of the Huawei Global Telecommunications Company by trying to steal confidential information about the case, Merrick Garland said today. Garland also announced 2 more criminal cases related to efforts by the Chinese government to interfere in U.S. affairs. One in New Jersey charges 3 Chinese intelligence agents with conspiring to act in the U.S. as illegal agents on behalf of a foreign government. The other in the Eastern District of New York accuses several people working on behalf of the Chinese government of, quote, engaging in a multi-year campaign of threats and harassment to force a U.S. resident to return to China. Last Thursday, we arrested 2 of those defendants. As these cases demonstrate, the government of China sought to interfere with the rights and freedoms of individuals in the U.S. and to undermine our judicial system that protects those rights. They did not succeed, unquote. The criminal complaint related to Huawei accuses these 2 individuals of paying a U.S. government employee a total of, okay, we know that already, $61,000. Skipping down. That information included details about witnesses, trial evidence, and potential new charges to be brought against Huawei, according to the complaint in U.S. District Court in Brooklyn. Huawei is not identified by name in the complaint, but details in it match up with the known prosecution of the company. Garland said, quote, this was an egregious attempt by China intelligence officers to shield a PRC-based, People's Republic of China, PRC-based company from accountability and to undermine the integrity of our judicial system, unquote. The complaint said the men cultivated a relationship with the government employee in February 2017, but that the other person, quote, subsequently began working as a double agent for the U.S. government. Since becoming a double agent, the government employees' continued contact with he and Wang occurred under the supervision of the FBI, unquote. The employee provided he and Wang with, quote, various information at their request, including purportedly sensitive information about the U.S. government's criminal case against Huawei. In addition to obstruction of justice, the complaint charges the 2 defendants with money laundering for their alleged transferring of Bitcoin used to bribe their purported informant. So there you go. So that's some big news today about that. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. It's one other thing I want to make sure we get in today. And, we talk a lot about inflation these days, and obviously, it's complicated. It's a lot more complicated than some people want to think that it is. And, it's not just an American problem. It is a global problem. And we talk a lot on the show about the various contributing factors. The pandemic really upended everything, right? In terms of supply chains and, we have kind of an overheated economy. The economy, it's not that the economy itself is bad in the macro sense. We have record low unemployment. We have the lowest unemployment in, I think, 50 years, while we have the highest inflation in 50 years. So it's a very mixed picture in that way. We don't call it a recession necessarily. Most economists are hesitant to say that we're in a recession because while we may have had 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth, which technically is a recession by the official definition, nobody's ever heard of a recession with 3.5% unemployment. However, unemployment is at a record low, and wages have gone way up. But wage inflation, unfortunately, has not kept pace with the consumer price index, which is what things cost, inflation. So people are making more money, but things are costing more, and the amount that things are costing more exceeds the amount of additional money that people are making in their jobs. So we're in a very weird place. You might say we're in an unprecedented place economically. The economy has been growing. The snapback effect of the economy I always hesitate to say post-pandemic because some would say we're still in a pandemic, but, and you know how I am. I don't like to downplay that. But the way that the economy snapped back after all the shutdowns and everything surprised a lot of people. So the economy grew, but it grew too fast, some would say, and that contributes to inflation. But there's also another thing. There's also another element to this that I've been reading about that is not discussed enough, and I'm not even sure what to do about it. I'm not sure what the solution is. And that is corporate profits. Now, listen, I am a capitalist. I am a big fan of capitalism. I'm an entrepreneur. Hard to be an entrepreneur and not be a fan of capitalism, right? But, I do think that capitalism has to be regulated. And I think in some ways government, I'm open to the idea that in some ways government probably over-regulates certain aspects of capitalism and gets in the way of free markets and progress in those ways. And in other ways, government might not regulate capitalism enough. For example, when we went into the Great Recession with the housing bubble bursting and all of that, everything that happened going into the Great Recession, some blamed at least part of that on the deregulation of the banks. It happened during the Clinton administration. So all of a sudden there was not enough regulation. But I don't want to get into all of that, but I want to focus on this. And again, corporations or businesses, they have to make money. Some would say that part of what causes inflation is if you're running a business and you have to pay your employees more, it becomes a spiral. Because of wage inflation, in order to attract employees and nobody can find enough help, you have to keep raising your wages, keep raising what you'll pay your employees, but that means you have to make up that money, so then the product or service that you're offering costs more. So it becomes we're in this very strange spiral that we're in, and we've never been in a situation quite like this. Where we really get into trouble, and this hasn't happened yet, but if we get into what is called stagflation, which is where this is what happened, what was going on during the Carter administration in the 1970s, where you have not only inflation, so prices continue to go up, but wages are stagnant. So stagflation, prices keep going up on everything, but nobody's making more money. So, and that leads to a very, a stagnated economy. Right now we have a growing economy. But there is, and I've people have been talking about it for a while. But people are talking about it a lot more now. And I have something here this is from peoplesworld.org. Top economists blame corporate price gouging for the inflation plague. So in other words, before we get into this article here, a big part of what is causing inflation is not necessarily that it's not all supply chain issues, and it's not all necessarily that spiral that I talked about. Well, you have to pay your employees more, so you have to charge more, and everything that you use to offer whatever product or service that you're providing costs more, so now you have to charge more. It's not just that, and it's not just, of course, most people like to look at everything through a strictly partisan ideological prism. So, it's not just, if you're a Republican, you just blame it on Biden. It's not that. It's a global problem. So, it's not an American problem. It's a global problem. So unless you're going to blame the woes of the entire planet on President Biden, which I think is absurd. That's not to say, of course, that there aren't some things that the executive branch can do to try to influence these things, but I think most economists would agree. You don't just blame the chief executive for something like this. That's why, I don't blame President Biden for inflation, but I'm consistent. Just like I don't credit him for a 3.5% unemployment rate. You'll never hear me say, "Wow, look at that. We've got 3.5% unemployment. He's doing a great job." No, I don't buy into this hyper-simplified, ideologically partisan idea that if something goes wrong, you blame it on the guy in the White House if you happen to not like the guy in the White House. And of course, if you do happen to like the guy in the White House, you find a reason why it's not his fault. And if something goes right, you refuse to give any credit to the guy in the White House if you don't like him. But if you do like him, you do give him credit. I don't do that because it's economics and it's much more complicated and nuanced than that. But people like to look at it through a strictly partisan lens. But we do need to look at, because I'm reading more and more about this and learning more and more about, there does seem to be a lot of corporate price gouging going on. So we'll dive into this, and this probably won't be the only time we discuss this during the week, because the media is not paying enough attention to this aspect of it, probably because we have largely a partisan media. So if you look at cable news, for example, on the left, you've got MSNBC and CNN. On the right, you've got Fox News and Newsmax, so they tend to play to the partisans, and this has nothing to do with partisanship. This is just the state of things. And again, I don't know what the answer is to this problem, but let's look at this. This is from peoplesworld.org. It says here, to listen to the corporate class, you'd think there were two causes for the inflation now hitting the U.S. economy: Democratic President Joe Biden's policies and rising worker wages. Wrong. Because when you take a real look at the numbers, economists, or at least those economists who actually think about workers, come up with a different explanation for most of the annual inflation rate, now above 8%. Corporate greed. One, Matt Stoller of the American Economic Liberties Project predicted continuing higher inflation last December and said 60% of it is due to corporate thirst for ever-rising profits. Others, including the Economic Policy Institute, agree. They just differ on the numbers. Stoller wrote then, quote, "Big business is benefiting from and helping to drive inflation. My belief at the start of the pandemic was concentrated market power and thin supply chains would induce shortages, and that indeed happened. One remedy for that, though, not the only one, are antitrust rules that prohibit price fixing, price discrimination, and monopolization, which often cause higher prices," unquote. Josh Bivens of the Economic Policy Institute got even more into the weeds. He explained, quote, "The price of just about everything in the U.S. economy can be broken down into three main components of cost: labor costs, non-labor inputs, and the markup of profits over the first two components. Good data on these separate cost components exist for non-financial firms," unquote. The economy hit bottom due to the mass closures to combat the coronavirus starting in March of 2020. Inflation increased once the shackles started to loosen, Bivens said. That's not due to workers' pay, which has risen 4.8% before inflation since that abyss. Instead, And I'm not good at math myself, so I get shy with numbers, but this matters. Instead, 53.9% of the price hikes are due to the corporate quest for fatter profit margins, 8% to businesses being forced to pay workers more, and the rest due to supply chain snarls, which Biden is trying to disentangle. The fatter profit margin figure is not normal compared to the 40 years before the pandemic hit, says Bevins. What would be normal, with joblessness at 3.5% and businesses complaining of labor shortages, especially in the lowest paying occupations such as motels, restaurants, and healthcare, is that employers would start really raising wages. They resist or just plain haven't, Bivens discovered. Instead, they raised prices, kept their labor costs down or tried to, and pocketed the difference. Bivens wrote, quote, "It's hard to say that some recent rise in corporate power is the key driver of current inflation. Rather, a chronic excess of corporate power has built up over a long period of time, and it manifested in the current recovery as an inflationary surge in prices rather than successful wage suppression. What was different this time that channeled this power into higher prices rather than slower wage growth? The short answer is the pandemic," unquote. It not only forced consumers, if they had any money, to shift their purchasing patterns, but it also messed up the supply chains for goods, he pointed out. Think of the GPS system in our auto dashboards, for example, though Bivens didn't use that illustration. The GPS and much of the rest of the car runs on a mini computer governing everything from the dashboard lights to the gasoline mix. But you need transistors and microchips for computers, and both come from places like China and Taiwan. The pandemic shut down their production for months on end. And what Bivens didn't say, though union workers for railroads and at the Port of Los Angeles, Long Beach do, is that once the Chinese started shipping their transistors and microchips here, U.S. corporate greed became responsible for our shipping snags. Ray Curry, the auto workers president, elaborated on that point. He said this, quote, "The pandemic has added to inflationary pressures as shipping and production have been interrupted by lockdowns and people being unable to work. Over-reliance on supply chains based overseas made the problem worse, as evidenced by the ongoing chip shortage that has hurt production of cars, trucks, agricultural equipment, and part suppliers," unquote. He said in a recent analysis, he went on, quote, "Yet, anti-worker politicians and pundits ignore these factors and try to pin the problem on workers by arguing higher wages are to blame. As workers fight to organize or strike for better wages, many argue they cause inflation. It's flatly not true and offensive to workers who are fighting for dignity and their fair share of the profits they deliver to their employers." Okay, a little bit more of this. We're not going to get through the whole thing, but it says here, wages only cause 8% of the price hikes. Quote, "The truth is wages only account for 8% of the price increases, which means wage increases account for less than 0.5% of inflation. If rising wages had been the only contributing factor, inflation would have been between 2.5% and 4.5% in March, depending on supply chain constraints. Nonetheless, anti-worker messengers continue to argue the opposite, that inflation is caused by increasing worker wages and we must raise interest rates to slow the economic growth." And that's what the Fed does, right? The Fed continues to raise interest rates to try to quell that. There's more to this, and we're not going to get into all of it because we are running out of time. But now I don't know what to do about it. Again, as a capitalist, I'm not necessarily wild about the idea that the government is supposed to somehow put a cap on profits. I don't know, but it's important for people to be aware of what's really going on here, because it's not as simple as, it's Biden's fault, or, it's just because wages have risen. So inflation has to keep going up, or because of the supply chain. I mean, that has an effect, certainly. And, during the shutdowns with the pandemic, of course, that has a huge effect, because one of the things that we really learned about our supply chain in this country I'm sorry, on this planet, I should say, globally, the global supply chain, historically, or at least over the past couple of decades, has become ruthlessly efficient. You know, you have this just-in-time shipping and receiving model where, you know, you can order something and have it pretty quick. But the supply chain was so efficient that all it took was one little thing to go wrong and things get disrupted. It was actually too efficient in that sense. Mike from Queen City Cabinetry says in the chat, I've adjusted my profit and margins to be competitive. Yes, indeed. But yeah, there's a lot of gouging going on. That's kind of the big point. And the media doesn't talk about that part very much. And again, I understand why. When you have a media that is largely left or right, you know, it's either about blaming someone or defending someone for whatever goes wrong. It's not always about really looking into the problem. But before we go, our friend Ron is on the line. Hi, Ron.
Matt, only be 2 seconds. I really, really enjoy it when you do no nonsense news, and there's so much information that you divide into categories and thoughts, and so I appreciate the news. I'm sorry to do that to you. I'm wicked sorry.
That's okay.
But I appreciate the news today. What was going on? You had me hooked. I couldn't listen to it. Couldn't get enough of it.
Oh, thank you, Ron. I appreciate that very much, my friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's it, bud.
All right, Ron. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Always nice to hear from our friend Ron, especially when he says nice things. That was very nice, Ron. Thank you. Crystal in the chat says, and companies don't discount for self-checkout kiosks despite consumers doing the work, not a paid employee. That's true. Although I love some people don't think we should have self-checkout kiosks because it takes away people's jobs. But personally, I'm a big fan. You can't hold back technology. Even if there are people who actually have advocated for, both on the right and the left, by the way, who have actually advocated for not having self-driving vehicles because it's going to put truck drivers out of a job eventually. I think we're still decades away. Some people think it's right around the corner. I don't. But the thing is, you can't hold back technology, whether it's a self-checkout, whether it's a self-driving vehicle, whatever it is, because, even if we made a decision to do that for any sort of economic reasons here in the United States, who's not going to do that? The entire rest of the world. China certainly isn't going to do it. So to remain competitive, we need to continue to embrace technology. But that's a good point, Crystal. All right, we got to go. We are out of time. If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And at my website, mattconnerton.com. And I will talk to you all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.